Hi, everybody. I'm back again. It is Friday night. We're going to see how well I'm doing because I'm having a little bit of, mm, I'm still getting over this, whatever this is, head cold, chest thing. So I had like a coughing fit and like whatever earlier. So I'm a little bit rumbly, but across, I'm so sorry, Twitch. Hi, guys. Uh, hold on. Hold on. Camera rigging. Amazing. Sorry, guys. Ah, okay, maybe, maybe. Um, I'm very sorry, guys. If you fall again, we'll try and hope that you don't fall. I know. It's a thing called a tripod. Yes, you are correct. Yes, I am correct. I will work on it. I have a really wacky setup just because of where I want to sit in my room. Um, so I kind of I want to sit here, but in order to do that, I have to have a weird camera setup, especially considering I'm simulcasting between Twitch and YouTube. So, mm, at any rate, for those of you who are just tuning in, my name is Beth Wagner, and I am currently reading my dad's novel. Well, my dad's novels. This one is called The Sword and the Rose, and I am currently on chapter 17. Last night's chapter was extremely short. This one is almost double that, but it still probably won't take very long. However, might be pausing throughout the story to edit or just do something ridiculous because that's the way the stream has been lately. Between kitten attacks and allergy attacks and all kinds of just random craziness of life. Um, these are just things that are going to impact it. I try to minimize these things, but between that and a janky karma setup, hello, welcome to me. I will try and do the best I can. I will try and improve where I can. Just bear with me. But at least this way you know that there's definitely a slim chance that well, actually, there's a very good chance that this is all real and not that other stuff I'm not going to mention because I'm not even going to bring it into the conversation. Alrighty. So, if you are just tuning in the first night, I highly recommend going back to your previous broadcast so you can kind of get an idea of what's going on. I'm still trying to figure out what's going on. Oh, actually, I know what's going on. Last night we left off with them about to storm the bandit hideout. And then I went on a rant about complaining how short that chapter was, how I might just take it out, and how it's not very helpful for the story, except for it just gets you from point A to point B. Literally from point A to point B. So here is now hopefully the exciting part of the story. Let's see. Chapter 17 of The Sword and the Rose. For all the misgivings of the under captain in charge of the archers, the bandits did not show their heads above the stockade until the scaling ladder thumped against the walls. Gloucester had to leave his sword in the scabbard in order to have a free hand to balance on the ladder. He was just coming to the top when a bandit stood and aimed an arrow at him. He was not sure if he shouted or screamed or said nothing. He was not even sure if he but he did bring his shield around, knocking the crossbow aside just as the bandit squeezed the trigger. The next thing he was aware of was that he was over the wall with his sword in his hand, and the bandit was dead at his feet. He knew he could not have been there for long, for Malgathef was shouting, "Luxoya!" as he came over the wall himself. The fighting was mostly hand to hand now, with an occasional arrow or crossbow quarrel whipping through the air. The scent of dust and roses was in his nostrils, but Gwalsor fought, as Melga had trained him, concentrating on what was before him, not on what was might be happening elsewhere. Metal hammered and screeched on metal. Amid the din of battle, a man went to Gwalsor to. Oh my goodness. A man next to Gwalsor was struck by a bolt of lightning. So give me 1 second here. Metal hammered and screeched on metal. Amid the din of battle, a man. Oh, I did that again. Wow. Okay. The the bandit's magician. Where are you, Master Pemberland? Another bolt of lightning struck somewhere across the field. Salder's tears, Pemberland. I'll melt that fat off you over a slow fire. The next bolt disintegrated into sparkles of light, some 8 feet above the ground. The next did likewise, and Gwalsor had no time to notice more, for two howling bandits were coming at him, one with a long boar spear and one with and the other with a battle axe. He slanted his shield so the spear glanced off, parried the axe, and before he could strike a return blow, Melga had thrust the axeman through the neck. Then he turned and found the spearman gone into the confusion of the fight. Suddenly, the clangor, clangor. I have to look that up. It could be a word, it could be a very odd, archaic word, or it could be supposed to be clamor. Either clangor or clamor, who knows? The dictionary does, and I will be checking that later. Suddenly, the clamor began to fade. Those of the bandits who remained were running and scrambling for the main gate. Welser saw the wooden man, the man the peasant had spoke of, wandering as if confused on the edge of the fighting. One of the men struck the thing with a sword, and though the sword blow did no harm to the wooden man, the swordsman was flung backward with a flash to land heavily and lie still. Gwalsor, his sword raised, stepped in that direction. Malga caught his shoulder. Don't touch, my lord. Serious bad magic protected. Gwalsor looked around and saw a cook fire, now beginning to burn down. He took a stick from the fire, whirled it around his head 3 times to set it blazing, and threw it at the wooden man. The woodman fell and began to try clumsily to arise. Walser threw in another torch and another. The wooden man began to smoke and burn. Then, finally rising, it ran away clumsily, still blazing. Walser then turned and went back to the last part of the battle. Tostig pounded on the door of the wizard's house. Henge, be you in there? What you doing? What be you doing for us? The door flew open, and Slavlin, Henge, looking somewhat flustered, stood there. I've been doing what I can. They have a magician with them, though. All I can do is strike at individual soldiers. I have Yahor out there wandering around to give them a scare. You know what happens when someone tries to hit him. It's almost worth this loss to be seeing you a little less self-assured, Tostig thought. What then? Be you having any advice? Menek was at his shoulder then, the two men behind him. Toss it be over. If we be moving now, might we could be get away into the swamp. There was a high-pitched shrieking, and the wooden man, Yahor, came into view. He was flaming now, and even as they watched, his legs disintegrated into charcoal and ash, and he fell over full length. Slavlan Hange's expression do, do, do. Slavlan Hange's expression became one of wrath, and for a moment Tostig thought he might turn his full fury on the Baron's men. Instead, he said in a voice of command, "Come here, close to me, all of you. Frolic, out here, now!" A moment later, he began a droning chant, strange words which refused to stay in the mind. Hair stood up on their heads, and witches' fire danced on their armor and weapons. A moment later, he shouted a single word, and they were gone, flying through the darkness, eventually landing on a meadow, where they staggered a bit, then caught their balance. The sun was low in the sky, and Tostig realized that though the trip had seemed very short, it had actually taken some hours. The battle was done. A few of the bandits managed to escape to the swamp. Let them go. It's not worth the risk of drowning in a bog trying to pursue them, Gwalsor said. The bulk of those who remained were dead. Only a few were taken alive, so they could expect only a speedy trial and hanging. The two leaders were missing, and the magician as well. The peasants were freed and grateful for it. A few were so bold as to call out their thanks to the Baron himself. Gwalsor and his chief men took stock of the situation. I wish we'd taken Tostig, Gwalsor said. He's much too dangerous to be let loose. He shall up again, my lord, said Malgathop. But he not so dangerous like before. We break his strength. And he'll have to be dealt with before we can gather so much strength again. Before he can gather so much strength again. They went around to the bandits' shack, hauling out anything that was either useful or valuable, then set the shacks afire. As for the wizard's shack, they looked inside it and tossed in torches and retired to a safe distance. As they watched the pile of plunder grow, Forath asked, "What will we do with all this, my lord Baron? We can't carry it out. Pardon me. We can't carry it out by ourselves. We'll leave a party here to guard it, and then send back in a train of mules to haul it out. I'm sorry, I ought to have thought of this before we came. What? And be bringing a train of mules with us as well as it be a nuisance while we fight our way in? Better this way, my lord, for certain." They spent the night at the fort, then left in the morning. The trip out took longer than the trip in because the number of wounded they had to carry in, number of wounded they had to carry in litters. They finally arrived back at the Hold Castle and sent mules in for the plunder. Several messages awaited Gwalsor at the Hold Castle, all matters that could be dealt with at leisure. After seeing to his men, Gwalsor retired to his allotted quarters. The messenger went to the door of Markian Darharalevant's quarters. Message for the night holder, he told the guard. The guard looked him over, then shrugged. He rapped on the door. Messenger, Lord. A page opened the door as the guard watched warily. Message for the night holder, boy. For him, personal. The page moved back and let the man in, who was followed by the guard, still wary. Markian showed himself from the inner chamber. He removed his armor, but was otherwise fully dressed. The messenger spoke. It's done, Lord. Went as we'd hoped. There's a few holed up in the keep, but that won't last. The woman? Nowhere to be seen. May have gone into the keep. Not good enough. I need her in my hands, not starving in the keep. Ah, well, I'll have to deal with that myself. Boy, skip out to the camp and tell the commander we're off as soon as it can be. And tell him to make sure we get out totally unnoticed. He knew they wouldn't be totally unnoticed, but he hoped that for a bit of a start on any pursuit. Yes, Lord. The boy was scrambling out the door. That could have probably been cut. Malgathor. Whoops. Wow. What did I just do? Malgathep woke Wilsor from his sleep. My lord, Dar Harelevant and his people go. How did it happen? He was awake almost instantly. A messenger come to Dar Harelevant. He ordered men to march. They away before anyone think about inform Foraith and me. Baggage and all? No questions? Soldiers march. Only when servants start strike tents, load wagons, people ask questions. Gwalter swung himself up to sit on the side of his bed. Dar Harelevant might depart without my leave, simply to give offense. I think I'd be a fool to count on that, though. Foraith, make ready to march. A white grin flashed across the flat olive face. Marshall already do that, so I hear instead of him. Serious good job, Marshal Foraith. Gwalter stood. Jadal! The boy came through the door, out of breath. Sorry, my Lord Baron, he apologized between pants. I thought you wouldn't need me for a while, so I was looking around the castle. When I saw the upset in the camp, I came as fast as I could. And just in time, too. Help me to dress. Yes, my Lord Baron. Is it true, then? Sir Markian is in revolt? It's not certain yet, but I've no intention of letting it take me by surprise. Now, stop chattering and get me into my armor. Foraith met them as soon as they rode out to camp. Really? Wait. Oh, I thought so. Foraith met them as they rode out to camp. I've sent couriers to the other night holders to meet us along the way, or gather at Grandel Castle. Well done. We'll be needing them, I think. Much as Markian has done, Gwalsar led his troops out, with the servants striking tents and bringing up the rear. You agree with me that Markian will be marching on Grendel Castle. Sorry. You agree with me that Markian will be marching on Grendel Castle, then, my lord? Sorry, my lord Baron? Asked Foraith. It's the most likely destination, replied Gwalsor. If they take my castle, they can hold it against me, bring in everyone who might have been wavering, and then come hunt for me wherever I may go. Gwalsor and his company marched swiftly through the countryside, past farms green with new crops sprouting in the fields. Very shortly they came on Markian's baggage wagons toiling up a slope. Gwalsor, Foraith, and a few guards rode to the head of the wagon column, then stopped, blocking their path. Gwalsor looked at the man in charge of the baggage. Where are you bound, fellow? Where my Lord Markian commands, my lord. And just where does Lord Markian bid you go? The man remained sullenly silent. Gwalsor made an impatient gesture with his left hand. Throw a rope over the limb of that tree and hang him. It may well loosen someone else's tongue. Wait, my lord! The servant was loyal to Markian, but saw no sense in dying to protect information that was fairly clear to anyone who cared to think. He bade us we meet him beneath the walls of Grendel Castle. Gwalsor nodded, then looked at Foraith. Marshal, have a dozen or so men escort these behind us to see that they don't lose their way. Yes, my lord Baron. You think Dar Harelevant will lay an ambush or two for us? Foraith asked as they rode along. He has to know what we'll be following. Possibly. He doesn't have that large a force to divide up. Of course, now we know one of the reasons why his force was so small when we first met. He had to have people to send to Grendel Castle. Still, if he thinks it worthwhile to delay us, he might well make the attempt. And indeed, as the road wound through a small wood, two hidden archers loosed arrows, killing one man and wounding another. Wait, wounding another? One other? Maybe? Let's see. Yep. The ambushers made no attempt to stand, however, slipping back off into the brush after a few arrows. It obliged the Baron's party to slow a bit, though, for they had to be wary at every place where an ambush might be laid. Without baggage, they traveled faster than they had on the way down, marching a little longer into the evening. Slipping wrapped in blankets, they would pause briefly to eat a bit of hard bread and drink a little water. Then they would carry on again. Thus it was that, late in the afternoon of the second day of the march, they saw smoke rising from where Grendel Castle lay over the horizon. Dun dun dun! So, smoke rising from the castle. Kittens coming in for the attack. So, on that happy note, because the kittens have arrived, I now must, I must bid you all adieu while I deal with kittens who are in full play mode and were quite upset that I locked them out. So much so that they busted their way in. So, until Monday, I will talk to you all again very soon. But yeah, there's more that I would do with this one. This one also suffers from needing some more descriptions here and there. But at least it's a little more, and it has there's so much more potential for excitement there and more action. There was action alluded to, but didn't actually come out, and I kind of need to put it in there. So there needs to be more descriptive action, is my thought. So I'm gonna have to work on that, and I'm gonna be writing notes for that as soon as I get the retrieve the pen from the kittens because they're busy killing it right now. My pen, yeah. Anyway, thank you all for tuning in, and I will talk to you all again on Monday. Bye.